All right, everyone, welcome to a very uplifting deep dive where we're going to show you that the Texas pass defense is kind of broken. And Ian and I have been hinting at this for a while. I think a lot of people thought the return of Michael Taff and Jelani McDonald would be a panacea. It would fix everything. All solutions are through personnel, right? That's what Mac Brown taught us long ago as Texas fans. But the truth is, scheme matters, the X's and O's matter, and guys actually knowing what coverage they're in appears to be helpful. So, Ian, any thoughts as before we jump into this deep dive?
I would have been one of the people saying it'll be better when Taff and McDonald are on the field. I promise you. And I have to reevaluate that. But we can't just reevaluate that here, Paul. We're going to do the best we can to explain some stuff here. We got a lot of other stuff to explain this on the website. Join Inside Texas today, everybody. $1 for a month for new members. This is a flash sale. That means it will not be available forever. You got to join now on the website before this deal runs out, Paul.
Let's run the tape.
First quarter, 2nd and 9, 4:46 on the clock, ball in the Texas 17, and things go poorly for Texas here. And they go poorly in a way that they will go poorly repeatedly throughout this game. Now, they got Noah Thomas, not wide open, but certainly open in the red zone, which is supposed to be hard to do because of compressed space. And they hit it for a touchdown. And me and Paul are going to do the best we can to explain what happened here. But as will be the case with a lot of these, it's hard to tell what exactly broke down for Texas because it appears that Texas wasn't sure what they were in the first place.
That's an interesting thing, Ian. And if those of you who have been following our deep dives and our all 22 film studies, we've been very definitive. Like when we broke down the Filsame, Derek Williams bust against Vanderbilt with Eli Stowers, we said, hey, here's what happened. Here's what happened. Here who has this. This is wrong. You should do this. Here's who's ultimately at fault, right? Multiple times in this game, we're so broken on the second and third levels. It's not clear who's culpable here beyond maybe just the scheme or the fact that it's not being communicated. There's a bunch of guys who don't know what they're doing. And so even look here pre-snap, Ian, Georgia's going to be throwing the ball to the right. Okay, being very simplistic here to Noah Thomas. By the way, really smart way that Mike Bobo plays with us through formations because clearly they identified in film study this is a defense that's not sound. And if we line up in weird formations and run our stuff, they're not going to line up right. And he was proven correct, particularly in the red zone, which is where you most want to be sound and actually know who you've got. We've got 4 dudes on the second level who are lined up past the center here, Ian. And now you can look at the third level, and there's 2 guys basically playing safety. Georgia's throwing the ball right. So we're actually, before the snap, we got a bunch of guys over there where they're going to throw the ball, if you want to be very simplistic. But we're going to get out of that very quickly because of a simple motion. Look at how Jalen Gilbo now appears to think that he's a safety with the rotation. Who's got the outside guy? Who's a wide receiver? Noah Thomas. Well, no one. Gilbo's going to pick him up because he's like, well, I'm the last man standing here. This right here at this point, they've won. This play is over. All Gunnar Stockton has to do is throw a backyard pass that you and I can do to our sons. So you're saying he's not wide open? I mean, he's not by himself, but he's wide open in the red zone. That's red zone wide open. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. There's very little to add.
I'm sorry. I made Ian sad.
I'm cultivating a new character with the beard called Grim Ian. We may need Grim Ian on these shows for the rest of the season. Yeah. I mean, I think that they're in cover 3.
Yeah.
And that Gilbo and Muhammad are the deep third players. And then the reason they're packed in is because George is packed in. But I'm not entirely sure. And I am pretty confident that they're not sure. Because there's a lot of pointing going on from Michael Taff and a lot of misalignments from most everybody.
That's a recurring theme throughout what we're going to show you is we think we know what we're in, But I'm telling you, with the benefit of hindsight and all 22, Ian and I can really, we're not like football geniuses, but we can tell you what a defense is in. It's not super hard. And I can tell you repeatedly, Ian and I spent an hour deliberating before the show, and we don't know what we're in on some of these. And I can assure you, if Ian and I don't know with the benefit of retrospect, these players don't know in real time, which is evident by the fact that we bust and it's a red zone touchdown. So you can see the rotation here. Are they confident in what they're doing here? Maybe.
No.
False confidence. I don't know.
Yeah. They are gesticulating very aggressively.
But Gilbo should not be there.
I swear it's like he miscounted how many guys were on the end of the line of scrimmage and didn't realize there was still a receiver there.
Yeah, but I mean, this guy's started a lot of football games for Texas. He knows who's receiver eligible and he can count. And he knows he's the outside man.
He should. This is all.
Second quarter, 1st and 10, 15 on the clock, the very beginning of the second quarter. Georgia is on their second touchdown drive, I believe. And the ball's on the Texas 38. You're going to see a Branch explosive, easy pitch and catch right in the middle of the field, right between the hash. Ian, if you have been watching this show, I have been pounding on the fact that we're giving up far too many easy throws between the hashes. Why is that a big deal? Because the between the hashes is right in front of the quarterback's face. It's a straight line. It's the easiest throws on the field. These are the things that you should be denying and then forcing the quarterback to make throws outside the hashes at the intermediate and longer levels. Texas's scheme on pass defense, and I don't just mean the secondary, also the linebackers, is inverted. We're allowing throws directly in front of the quarterback's face, and this is another example to Zachariah Branch. What do you see here, Ian? Why are we losing on about Zachariah Branch's second step on this route?
You know, Paul, almost every defense that has ever played in college football is designed to take away the middle of the field and force the more difficult throws outside. Like it doesn't quarters, cover three, most every blitz. There is one exception. There's one defense that doesn't do that. And that's this man one blitz that they use here. And this is the exact same nonsense they were doing in that Houston game in 2023 when who was the quarterback? Houston just kept throwing wide open shallow crosses across the middle of the field.
Is that Donovan Smith?
Yeah, and it happened like 7 or 8 times on every high leverage down. So Texas is going to fire the nickel in coverage into the blitz. And then they've got 3 underneath defenders, the 2 linebackers, and stay with me, Jelani McDonald. Okay. And those 3 underneath defenders are going to play man coverage on their corresponding guys. So like the linebacker in the middle is probably Anthony Hill. He's looking at the running back. He's going to play the running back in man coverage. If he goes to his side, if he blocks, he joins the blitz. Mm-hmm. Tight end is going to what appears to be Ty Anthony Smith. Same deal. I cover the tight end. If he blocks, I join the blitz. Jelani McDonald, believe it or not, is in man coverage on Zachariah Branch. Now, if you're in man coverage, you don't want to be in outside leverage. And if there's 0 people in the middle of the field, you really don't want to be on outside leverage, and you really don't want to be this far off the ball. So this is just a completely stupid and unsound concept all the way around. Like if you're going to blitz in man coverage like this, McDonald cannot be aligned there.
He has to be walked up and he has to be on an inside leverage.
Yes.
Because you're trying to deny the easiest throw in the middle of the field. And can I give you some statistics?
Yeah, let's do it.
Over the last 3 games, Shapen, Pavia, and Stockton, who are 3 very different quarterbacks playing in 3 very different systems, are a combined 45 of 55 for 613 yards between the hashes. That's an 82% completion rate at 11.1 yards per attempt.
Oh.
That is not good.
11.1?
Yes. So simply by dropping back, you get a little bit more than a first down. I'm not even saying you get a completion. So, and look how Jelani McDonald doesn't have a chance here. So you can blame him, I guess, but this is how he's supposed to be aligned. How is he supposed to win here?
It's not possible. Now, if they're playing zone inside of him, then it's fine. Protect the seam.
Yes.
But if you're not playing zone inside, then cannot be it.
So watch what an easy throw this is. By the way, the official knows it's coming. Look, he goes into a 3-point stance as they throw it to Branch right in front of him. And Branch kind of almost can't believe how open he is and how much space there is. Because when you go in the middle of the field like that as a receiver, especially at that intermediate depth, you're thinking, I'm going to get hit as the ball touches my hands. Branch pauses for a moment and goes, oh, I can make a move. So you're going to see Taft take a bad angle. In fairness, Zachariah Branch is a pretty explosive guy with the ball in his hands. But still, by alignment, we've lost. I mean, you could blame the players. You can say, hey, we'll at least make the tackle and make it a 15-yard gain, stop the bleeding. But this is an example of something that I pointed out many times since the start of the year, and it's accelerated, is that we seem to have a defense where there's a guy coaching the front, a guy coaching the linebackers, a guy coaching the secondary, and I would even argue a guy coaching the corners, nickels, and a different guy coaching the safeties. And none of them are talking, and none of them are integrating or coordinating it to a larger whole.
I got one more tidbit before we move on.
Please.
I agree with that. Although apparently Akina runs the whole show for the entire secondary.
That explains some things.
Yeah, but not the linebackers. Okay. Mac Jones in 2020 threw for 11.2 yards per attempt. And he was throwing deep. So Texas's last three opponents, if they were like a composite player, are putting up Mac Jones numbers without even throwing deep and outside.
Well, I compiled in my post-mortem, which you guys, if you're not joining Inside Texas, you should. If you had a composite quarterback who had just been what Blake Shapen, Diego Pavia, and Gunnar Stockton did to Texas's secondary and pass defense, I should say, not just the secondary, over the last 3 games, if you projected that over a full season, Ian, that quarterback would throw for over 4,000 yards at 8.9 yards per attempt with 44 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. That quarterback, Ian, if they played Texas every week, would win the Heisman Trophy in a runaway.
Yeah, you're talking. It's like Joe Burrow has returned to the college game. Third quarter, 4th and 1. One of a couple 4th down conversions for Georgia. 3:26 left on the clock. It's on the Georgia 37. This is going to be a touchdown drive for the Dogs eventually. And just want to point out real quick, it doesn't end up mattering, but I believe that's Lawson Lucky is running wide open down the field. And believe me, there's no one behind him. If Georgia had even a little less contempt for Texas in this game and had taken that shot, it's already a touchdown. And we're talking about a game that's like 42-10 or something. But they're going to hit their actual design, which was to spring the running back wide open in the flat, as they did for the entire game, basically. Easily pick up the first down. And we'll go to the end zone cam. Paul, you can help us see. You can point out just maybe 1 or 2 of the mini breakdowns that occurred to make this.
Yeah, well, I'd say, in fairness, Mike Bobo created a few of them. So they have a tackle over, meaning they've taken an extra offensive lineman and put them on the right side. It's suggesting a heavy set, which is what they run in their short yardage. They're suggesting, hey, we're running downhill. We're going to bully you, right? You're going to see the tackle over come over late. And so you could see Texas adjusting to that, which is what we should be doing. The minute we make that adjustment, our second and third level defenders don't know what they're doing. They don't know who's got what. Now, they should all be reacting to the run first. There's nothing wrong with that. However, they should be recovering to their assignment. And you're going to see that guys are just recovering sort of to space. They don't actually know who they have. And that's how Lawson Lucky springs wide open going down the field. If Georgia had wanted to, they could have thrown a 51-yard touchdown here. But instead, they take the easy candy of the pass to Bowens in the flat. But watch them out leverages here. He's going to roll. Gunnar Stockton's mobility is a nice factor here and a proof of why your NFL projection is not always your efficacy as a college quarterback. But this is a rather easy throw, Ian. Look how open he is. Look where Manny Muhammad is facing. Why?
Well, it's hard to be sure.
Yeah, we're going to say that a lot.
I think this is cover 3 again because it's virtually always cover 3 for Texas. They don't play cover 3 in this game as though that were the main thing they do. But Muhammad should be running with Lucky down the field if it's cover 3. He should be aligned a little differently. He's a little shallow to be doing that, but he should be in position to run with Lucky up the field. With the tight end moving over, isn't Delp ineligible by alignment?
I didn't look at the original alignment, so I'm not sure. Yeah, he's covered with the tackle over. I believe he's ineligible. I'm not sure. I'd have to gander at the old rule book on that one again, but I believe he's ineligible. That's why he stays in the block.
So there's only one guy to cover down the field, and McDonald and Muhammad are both kind of like, that's you, right? Is that me? Is that you? Obviously, one of them should be carrying the vertical, and the other one should be positioned to close in the flat.
Yes.
Both of them are like, this might be me on the vertical. No one is there in the flat. Both are completely wide open. First down, Georgia.
So here's the troublesome thing, Ian. When we do these, we often want to say, here's the culprit. Oh, hey, what player messed this up? Time and again, we don't know. Because I don't think these players know, man. I just don't. I'm not confident pointing out, like, who's the guy. You know, you say you think we're in cover 3. I'm not sure we're in cover 3. I'm not sure they know we're in cover 3. I don't know. I mean, I'm not. It's not. It's very rare that I can't watch something and after a couple of clips go, I'm pretty sure I know what we're in. We're in cover 1, and here's why. I know this. It's just not always clear. And if it's not clear to us, again, in retrospect, I can assure you it's not clear to the Texas players, as evidenced, right? As evidenced by the result of the play. But you can notice here Ian's point about number 7 down the field, the furthest Georgia receiver. He is wide open. So if Stockton had wanted to take this and actually retreat a couple of steps, like a drop back, like an old school freeze option, he could just loft it up to Lucky, and it's an easy 51-yard touchdown. But instead, they're going to take the easy candy. The one thing that's recurring, and I wrote about this, used the word as in the breakdown early, and I used it in my postmortem. Georgia had a certain contempt for us. And I don't use that word lightly, but the reason you go for it on 4th and 5 on your 36 in a close game at that point is that your absolute assurance that you're going to convert. And the reason you go for it again on 4th and 1 on the 49 is the absolute assurance that you're going to convert. And you know what? If somehow Bowens had dropped the ball, even though they schemed it up perfectly, Georgia's not scared that our offense was going to do anything. This immediate drive was followed up by what, Ian? Do you recall?
The onside kick.
The onside kick. And why would they have the confidence to have that onside kick? Well, aside from their scouting of our kick return, which has an inattention to detail, they're going to retreat and turn before they're supposed to, before they're assured the ball's over their heads. Georgia also knows they can do it without consequence. So what if Texas had recovered it? So what? Who cares? Again, I don't say this word lightly. Georgia coaches against us with a degree of contempt. They don't think we have any attention to detail. They don't think we know what we're doing on defense. And frankly, they don't think we're a fundamentally sound, well-coached football team. And that's why they took liberties on us that entire fourth quarter.
Yep. You can tell on this one that they knew exactly what they were doing. Texas barely got aligned to stop the run that they were sure was coming, much less the pass, obviously. Like there was no communication, like eligible, ineligible. You get this, I get this. That's not happening. They were barely able to line up in a sound way against the run. So Georgia's just like, 3 steps ahead.
Hey, folks, I want to tell you about the best damn mortgage guy in the state of Texas. That's Gabe Winslow. You can reach him at 832-557-1095. Why Gabe? Why the hell not Gabe? If this isn't the first guy you call to get a mortgage, or at least the last guy you call so you can shop him against all the other people you've talked to, the jokers that you've talked to, this is the guy you want. This is the expert. This is the guy who's one of the top mortgage originators in the whole state of Texas. Gabe is really good at what he does. He's of course, a UT grad. He's a proud former National Merit Scholar, and he's got a law degree. This guy knows all the angles. He's really sharp, and he absolutely loves getting people into their dream house or refining their current house. They say marry the house and date the rate. Guys, it's time to start dating. Rates are going down. If you currently have a rate 6.5% or higher, you need to call Gabe Winslow. There's a very good chance this guy can refi you for free. That's gratis. Folks, give him a call. 832-557-1095. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. All right, Ian, fourth quarter, 2nd and 3. Georgia spent a lot of time in 2nd and 3 in this game, by the way. 14:55 on the clock. The ball's on the Texas 37, and Georgia is going to ice this game with a seam bust touchdown on a switch release. Ian, we've seen this before. Do you remember the Vanderbilt Commodores doing this to us in a different switch release and a different defense? The concept still holds. Part of the reason you do a switch release is because you don't believe that the defense facing you understands their own rules. And unfortunately, that's proven true here with the Georgia Bulldogs. What do you see here, buddy?
Yeah. I would have told you if you're like, hey, Georgia's going to bring back the switch release Vanderbilt used, but they're going to run it on a standard down against Texas playing. Again, we're not even sure. It seems like it's the base cover 3. We'll get into that in a minute. It's so poorly aligned and executed that it's impossible to be 100% sure. If you told me, hey, Taft is going to be on the field and McDonald is going to be on the field and they're going to run the same switch release as Vandy, I'd be like, okay, well, at least Texas will, no, Texas won't do anything. They will let the guy run wide open down the field, and he will score a touchdown.
Interestingly enough, they're doing the switch release with the tight end the way Vandy did, but this time they sprang their receiver, who's actually their fastest receiver. London Humphreys is their fastest guy if you just line him up in shorts and have him run, right? And that's the guy you don't want to spring up the seam because you're not going to get recovery on him, right?
Yeah.
So Stockton, his first read, he knows where he's going with the ball here. And you'll notice Humphreys has immediate recognition that he's not being covered. Watch, lift him, see him lift his hand? You see him lift his hand and look back? Stockton, do you see what I'm seeing? Stockton's like, yeah, you're my first read. I see it. We're about to throw a touchdown. And Humphreys goes, cool, I'm going to catch it. Throw it to me. And Stockton goes, here it is. And it's a touchdown. And again, that's wide open. You see the recovery there at the end, so it almost looks like, they just beat us or something. No, this was a touchdown at the snap of the ball. Like, Stockton doesn't even throw a perfect ball here. He just knows he needs to get the ball over there in proximity of Humphreys, and it's a stroll-in touchdown. Here's the interesting thing. Connor drew some helpful lines to illustrate what cover 3 would look like. And he may replicate that again. Gilbo doesn't drop back, Mr. Producer. I know you know that. But if this was cover 3, one of these two, Taft or Gilbo, would have dropped back. Why aren't they staggered here? Why are they lined up even? Are they trying to suggest they're in man coverage as a look, and it's going to confuse Georgia and Stockton? One, Georgia doesn't care. They're throwing to their read progression. They don't give a damn how you're lined up. And two, you just staggered yourselves. So if Gilbo has to get over on the switch release, Ian, who's blocking him?
Yeah, Taft.
By the way, Gil doesn't get over because he doesn't know who he has. So we can say the culprit here is McDonald. We can say the culprit here is Taft. We could say the culprit here is Gilbo. We can argue that we're in cover 3. It's not clear to our football team that we're in cover 3, Ian. There's no evidence that we're in cover 3 by how we played this. I'm not criticizing you. I'm just saying it seems like we're in cover 3. How do you know we're in cover 3?
theoretically, if they were in cover 3, here's a couple things that go wrong if they're in cover 3.
Right.
If they are in cover 3, is that Ty Anthony Smith at weak side linebacker?
Yes.
He starts to chase the flat and then stops. Like, I'm in man coverage. Wait, no, I'm not in man coverage. I'm in zone. I better get back. It's way too late to have any impact in the seam. If they were in cover 3, you kind of want Taft to get a little closer on the curl flat, but you would definitely want Gilbo to be like bailing at the snap so that he can get over on that vertical.
So
Also,
if you're
wait,
running
one
this-
more.
so,
One more.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I do want to say,
Okay.
if you're running this as a look, like you're running a trap scheme, meaning we're going to show you something and we're entice the throw, but at the last second, Gilbo's bailing and he's running to the seam that you think is open, and he's going to get a PBU or a pick, right? Gilbo would be doing that at the snap, but he's not. He's staring.
It's generous to say that they're trying to confuse them with a look, I think. It's possible, but I think that's actually a generous interpretation.
Okay. I mean, I'm trying to give the steel man argument that we're not incompetent on the back end, but maybe we're incompetent.
Yeah. Okay, one more thing. McDonald, when you're in cover 3, you need to read the release of either seam.
Both inside receivers, right?
And you need to be he is totally clueless until the last possible second that there's a guy running unimpeded up the middle. Like, look when he realizes, go let it go just a little more, Mr. Producer. He's like, oh,
right there. He turns his hip.
Whoa! And there's no chance anymore. If he had been aware earlier in the progression, he could have contested. This play was going to be hard to defend if they played cover 3 right.
Right.
The cover 3 beater. But McDonald and Gilbo could have potentially been bracketing the ball by the time it arrived from either side. Maybe contesting, maybe an interception if one of them was super athletic and aware. But it's not even close.
I do want to praise Humphreys here on his release. His understanding of that Texas has busted. A lot of receivers have a tendency to bring this in, right? Curl it in a little bit to get more towards the hash. Humphrey stays flat. He's going to curl it in just a little bit to present an easy window, a nice vertical, but he's not going to actually like turn this into a bad post, which a lot of receivers do. He stays flat. Notice I gave you that statistic about our lack of success between the hash. Humphreys is technically outside the hash here. Same, right? He's 2 yards outside the hash. This is an easy football throw. This is something some of us can replicate in our backyard, and none of us are, exactly Gunnar Stockton. So it's a really unfortunate play that again demonstrates that Ian and I have watched this a lot, and we're pretty sure we know what we're in, but we're actually not sure because it's so misplayed. It's not clear what's a look and what's actually our schematic coverage. And I can tell you, if it's not clear to me and Ian, it's certainly not clear to the Texas Longhorn secondary.
Here's one more. Can we steal man one more idea?
Please.
Let's say in PK's match 3, you can play zone to one side and man to the other.
Yes.
If you were in man, the linebacker would chase the flat, and you would either switch the inside outside, like Gilbo seems to be doing.
Taft would have Humphreys. Gilbo would have the tight end.
Or you would tell Gilbo, you got to chase that. Either way, it's possible that they are in man coverage here, but they still are not communicating like we're gonna switch a switch release, or I'm gonna stick on this guy no matter what, and you're gonna stick on this guy no matter what. Right?
Yeah, but man coverage not staggered, which means you're gonna run into each other when people switch release.
Yes.
The other part that's 10,000 foot view, football for dummies. Georgia knows, and now every team knows, just run switch releases. It doesn't really matter what coverage Texas thinks they're in. They can't handle it because they don't really know their assignments and they're not really sound schematically. So this could be a combo coverage. This could be pure zone. This could be man one side. This could be man on the other. Could be man across. But the point is, we're not honoring the rules of any of those things.
Yeah.
It's a Frankenstein coverage, and it doesn't end well in the book Frankenstein when you create that monster.
Really? What happens? All right, last example. Fourth quarter, 1st and 8, 1st and goal from the 8-yard line. 9:28 left in the game on the Texas 8-yard line, obviously. And at this point, Texas is kind of just chasing ghosts. They're completely losing their cohesion and composure on defense. And Mike Bobo nudges them further in that direction by showing them the double lead zone read play, only to have it's Lawson Lucky, right? Release into the end zone and Stockton pull up and throw it and hit him for a touchdown. Nobody covers it.
Yeah, one subtlety I love of this play, I got to say, from a design standpoint for Georgia.
Everybody.
Well, Gunnar Stockton feigns I'm a runner. He really sells it.
Head down.
So you'll see him before this throw, before his little Tebow-esque jump pass. He has both hands on the ball, shoulders down. I'm a runner. And then the minute the play starts to develop, he goes, I'm a passer. And you can see the whole Texas. I mean, we've got 5 guys reacting to the ball, getting up the field. And then we've got a wide open tight end leaking into the end zone. So bend but break, don't break defense has its purpose, has its role, has its function. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's entirely premised on the fact that you clamp down on the red zone. Very common sort of trope of a bend but don't break defense is once you get inside their 30, they start blitzing you, right? Because now they're going to knock you out of field goal range. Or they're going to force you into a 4th and 5 sort of decision in no man's land where you don't want to punt, but you kind of feel like you got to go for it, right? Or once they penetrate your 10 or your 20, goal to go, hey, we're going to lock down. Everyone know who you've got. We've got a compressed field. It's not easy to throw the ball. We're going to force them into a field goal. That's perfectly appropriate way to play defense in the modern era. However, Georgia, if you'll notice, in this game repeatedly looked to throw in the red zone, Ian. They looked to throw in goal to go. Why? I hate to use the C word. It's contempt for Texas and our ability to scheme and cover, to basically play sound football with the paint right behind our D. So do you have any further thoughts on this one as Lucky strolls into the end zone?
I do. In between filming these segments, we just argued with Connor for another additional 10 minutes about who was to blame on the seam touchdown, with Connor wanting to make the case that it's possible it was Taft's fault, which we don't know, but it could be. We're not going to argue it again. On this one, Taft is the only defensive back on that side of the field, and he's the outside contain guy. Taft has to be aware of the tight end and relate to him. He cannot let him run down the field like that. But at this point in the game, everybody's chasing ghosts. Everybody's just trying to make a play. There's no real structure or cohesion anymore on the defense.
Part of a defensive scheme, and I'm talking about the big picture, 10,000-foot view scheme, like how do we approach playing football as a defense or even on a given down, is the idea that you become something more than the sum of your parts, right? When your defense starts to break down, you become something less than the sum of your parts. And I can tell you the individual parts on the Texas defense are quite good. So people can hyper-focus and say, oh, Gilbo's not a shutdown corner or whatever, right? I could tell you 97% of the teams in America would cut off their pinky to have Texas's defensive personnel, okay?
Yeah.
We are now in panic mode. And guys, because there's so many busts, guys are trying to compensate or guys are just trying to play make. I just want to do something aggressive. And Georgia is exploiting that with very, very simple concepts here. A tight end leaking into the flat in goal to go, not exactly revolutionary football. But look how wide open he is. How many white shirts did he run past? It's tough.
4 or 5. It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, it was more rhetorical, but yes, correct.
I mean, that's a lot. That's like
Yeah.
half the defense.
But ultimately, yeah, I do think Taft busted this. Taft also had 3 missed tackles in this game. I don't think that's a function of his injury. I don't think that's a function of Michael Taft not being a very good football player. I think he is. I think everything's breaking down schematically, and I
Yep.
think that's having an effect on individual play.
Yep. Everything is broken.
All right, folks, we hope you have learned a little bit from this deep dive. The fact is, the Texas secondary, the Texas pass defense, not just the secondary, is struggling, and they're struggling schematically. And I think that's making individual players struggle. Texas has a lot of things to fix back there, and it seems to be getting worse rather than better. Ian, any parting thoughts for the people before we encourage you to go join the best damn conversation in Texas sports at InsideTexas.com?
I'm afraid that the only thing we've taught people is that everything is broken.
Well,
Despair and panic.
well, look, things are darkest before the dawn. I don't know, something cliche. But if you like this channel and if you found it illuminating and elucidating, please give us a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe and make darn sure you spend $1 American and go get a month free and find out the best Longhorn conversation. There is no other place where you're going to get the straight dope on Texas sports and really find out what's going on. So for Ian Boyd and Paul Wadlington, hook 'em. Let's beat the pigs.